Milk! Oh my god.
Okay, so milk could be killing me. Why these doctors don't recommend dairy. Why milk is bad for me. If milk commercials were honest, why you should not drink milk.
When you watch a few videos on YouTube about milk, you might get quite alarmed. I sat down and looked at the science on milk, and I want to share with you what I found. So in today's video, I want to talk about what is milk? Why do we even drink milk? And is milk really that bad for us? So what is milk? Whole cow's milk contains about 87% of water. The remaining 13% is protein, fats, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals. Milk contains everything a baby needs. While babies and young children can still break down the sugar in milk, which is called lactose, with the help of an enzyme called lactase without any problems, most people lose this ability when they grow up. The lactase gene gets switched off. So the majority of people in the world, which is 65%, are lactose intolerant and cannot digest lactose beyond the age of about 7 or 8 years old. So in Vietnam, for example, more than 90% of the population can't digest lactose. In the UK, around 8% of people are lactose intolerant. About 8,000 years ago, a certain genetic mutation began to take hold in some parts of the world that allowed people to break down lactose. So that today, these same 35% can drink milk without getting a stomachache. So why do we drink cow's milk and not milk from other animals or even humans? Well, it's not entirely logical. Perhaps someone still remembers, in 2011 an ice cream shop in London caused a big scandal because it sold a type of ice cream made with human breast milk.
Okay.
What did you just do?
I licked my arm, what?
It's breast milk.
Weirdly enough, we have become used to pouring breast milk from an animal into a bowl of cereals in the morning. But cow's milk is not so different from human milk. As you can see here, the fat content, for example, is pretty similar. The main reason why milk from cows is considered as the milk is because cows are such high-yield milk producers. So cow's milk became established and is so popular today. UK farmers produce 15 billion liters of milk each year. Special cows are used to produce so much milk. The breed is called Holstein Friesians, and they are known as the world's highest producing dairy animals. The Holstein Friesian is the most widespread cattle breed in the world. The milk production of these cows is enormous. While in 1955 it was still 4,000 liters per cow per year, now it's up to 15,000 liters with the Friesians. In the course of a lifetime, they produce 100,000 liters and more. And many people may not be aware of the following. On large farms, the cows are kept almost permanently pregnant so that they produce milk all year round. The cows are artificially made pregnant again relatively quickly after giving birth, so that they calve every year. Accordingly, such high production cows do not usually live very long. The average total lifespan of dairy cows in the Netherlands in 2018 was 5.5 years, while the natural lifespan of a cow is 20 years. When a cow is not giving enough milk anymore or its health is suffering, it gets sorted out and ends up at the slaughterhouse and will be replaced by a new cow. Fortunately, there are exceptions, and there are dairy farmers who are going against this trend. In my last video, I talked about organic milk. So cows on organic farms live to around 14 years. However, most of the milk that ends up on our breakfast tables, but also milk used for puddings, yogurts, cakes, does not come from the green Alpine pastures shown in the advertisements, but from farmed milk machines. Now, my third question. Is milk toxic? Are we slowly killing ourselves by drinking milk? Humans are not only the only animals that continue to drink breast milk as adults, but they are also the only animals that drink the breast milk of another animal. I mean, I have to admit, this is a bit strange. But just because something is strange doesn't mean that this has medical significance. What counts are scientific studies, and I have looked at them. Calcium in bones. Calcium is important for bone growth, and milk is a good source of calcium. 1 liter of milk contains 1,200 milligrams of calcium, and the recommended daily amount is 1,000 milligrams. Scientists all agree that milk has health benefits, so for children and adolescents who are still developing and growing. Milk and osteoporosis and the risk of fracture. As I said before, milk is a good source of calcium, which is good for the bones. But what about osteoporosis and bone fractures? Osteoporosis is an age-related disease in which bones become brittle. Studies show that milk is beneficial for bone density. However, the data on mortality and risk of bone fractures are contradictory, with studies reporting favorable, meaning milk may protect against bone fractures, neutral, so there is no effect, and unfavorable associations, meaning the more milk is drunk, the more bone fractures there are. But this is only a correlation, not a causality. Fractures can be associated with other risk factors too, for example, dementia or the lack of physical activity. Milk and cancer. Now let's look into milk and cancer. The World Cancer Research Fund looked at dairy and cancer in its latest report, and it showed that dairy products, milk, cheese, and dietary calcium were actually associated with a decreased risk of colorectal cancer with higher consumption. The scientists think that the calcium in dairy is playing a role, but also lactic acid producing bacteria, casein, which is a protein found in milk that gives milk its white color, and the lactose in milk. They also found some evidence that consuming dairy products might decrease the risk of premenopausal breast cancer. There's some evidence suggesting an increased risk of prostate cancer when consuming lots of dairy. This is because when you consume a lot of milk, the levels of so-called growth factors in our bodies increase, and higher concentrations of these growth factors have been associated with an elevated risk of prostate cancer. The growth factor is called IGF-1. That's a hormone that is mostly produced in our liver. It is responsible for cell division and other processes of growth and development in our body. However, the factor can also potentially promote cancer. From the available findings of various studies, it can be concluded that milk consumption increases IGF-1 levels. To what extent this happens, also in comparison to other animal proteins, and what health consequences this has, remains to be investigated in more detail though. Milk, diabetes, and cardiovascular diseases. I also looked at diabetes and cardiovascular disease, and I couldn't find any scientifically sound reason for concern. Milk and acne. Cow's milk products can sometimes promote the release of talc gland stimulating substances, which can lead to pimples and acne. This has also been shown in studies. Here too, only correlation and not direct causalities have been proven so far. So if you want to see for yourself whether milk also leads to more pimples, you should try something called an exclusion diet. So leave out cow's milk for several months and then reintroduce it, and write a food and symptom diary. One point, however, that is important for me to mention is that what you find in the refrigerated section of almost every supermarket are yogurts, milk drinks, and puddings with a lot of added sugar. So therefore, my recommendation is to try to buy mainly dairy products without any added sugar. If you fancy a yogurt with a bit more of a zing, then just add a teaspoon of honey and some tasty berries to your yogurt. Also, the British Nutrition Foundation says that protein foods like dairy, milk, yogurt, cheese provide a range of vitamins and minerals and can be part of a healthy diet. Dairy foods provide protein, calcium, B vitamins, and iodine. So in conclusion, I say that the consumption of milk and dairy products, including cheese, at the recommended levels and according to the NHS, that's 2 to 3 servings every day, does not have any negative consequences for our health. This is because despite some individual studies showing contradictory results, large population studies tend to point to positive effects of milk consumption. However, it is also possible to eat a healthy and a wholesome diet without any dairy products. So, for example, the calcium which you find in milk, you can also find this in plant milk nowadays. Thanks again for watching my video. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something, and maybe if you have tips for people who think of including more plant-based foods into their diet, leave it in the comments below. It would be great if you could leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel, and leave me a thumbs up. Thank you, and bye bye.